Welcome to my retrospective of the first good Sonic game to come out after many bad Sonic games were released since the last good Sonic game. Did I say that right? I don't know. Welcome to Sonic Colors. So as I alluded to earlier, when Sonic Colors released in 2010, it was pivotal in that it steered the franchise back into critical acclaim. Sonic Team sought to revitalize Sonic's reputation after a series of hit-or-miss titles, and I'd say it did the job well. Honestly, it wasn't until recently, over a decade after release, that I started to see people criticizing this game. It was always chalked down as the first good Sonic game in a very long time. But back before it was released, much like the lead up to all the Sonic titles, well, except Dream Team, but we'll get to that one at a different time, the gaming world eagerly anticipated Sonic's next adventure, and Colors promised more than just a return to form. It presented a fresh perspective and reinvention that blended the nostalgia of Sonic's golden era with innovative gameplay mechanics. Upon its release, the Sonic series was no longer burdened by the shadows of past disappointments. It emerged as a success and captured the essence of what made Sonic an enduring icon in the first place, and more importantly, it laid the groundwork for later triumphs, including the design philosophy of the later games in the franchise, which I've already covered since, in case you're new around here, this is a 3D Sonic retrospective in reverse, where I'm reviewing these games with a different lens that had me start at Frontiers and work my way back to the beginning. Regardless of how I spin it, I'm here to delve into the various facets of Colors, examining the game's visual spectacle, innovative gameplay mechanics, and the enduring legacy it carved into the Sonic universe. I want to take you all on a journey through the colorful worlds and dynamic gameplay that define this installment, and explore the significance of the Wisps, the seamless integration of 3D and 2D platforming, and the lasting impressions left by the soundtrack. But it's not all rainbows and sunshine. There are some criticisms, and rightly so. But I do want to make it clear that I'm strictly playing the Ultimate version for this retrospective. I know that's kind of a deal breaker for many of you, but I enjoyed the visuals enough and didn't really face any drastic technical hiccups to make a big deal about it. And besides, the last thing any of you really need to hear is yet another person discussing why the original Wii version is better. Let's just talk Colors. As I previously mentioned, the critical reception of Sonic Colors upon its release in 2010 was generally positive, representing a notable upswing for the Sonic franchise after a string of mixed reviews for previous titles. The main version of this game was available on the Wii, so many people were able to get their hands on it. One of the standout aspects that the critics unanimously praised was the game's vibrant and visually striking presentation. Sonic Colors showcased the capabilities of the Wii hardware, delivering colorful and dynamic environments that brought Sonic's world to life. The game's graphics were a marked improvement, contributing to an immersive and engaging experience. Additionally, critics applauded the introduction of the Wisps, small alien creatures that granted Sonic various color-based power-ups. This innovative gameplay mechanic added a layer of strategy and variety, allowing the players to experiment with different abilities as they navigated through the levels. The Wisps injected a fresh energy into the Sonic formula, contributing to the game's overall appeal. Something that would make a return in later games, and quite frankly something that I'm not a big fan of. But at least this title, it was experimental and part of the story, so I can respect that. But critics also praised its diverse and imaginative level design. Each of the themed worlds presented unique challenges and showcased a level of creativity that resonated positively with both critics and players alike. The seamless integration of 3D and 2D platforming sections within these levels added a depth and variety to the gameplay experience, which, again, I think the 3D and 2D gameplay combination was a lot more appealing back then than it is today. And of course, the game's soundtrack was well received for its energetic and catchy tunes. The music complemented the high-speed gameplay, enhancing the overall atmosphere of each level and contributing to the positive reception of the game's audio-visual elements. Something that might be surprising to many of you is that many critics appreciated the shift in Sonic's character tone. The reintroduction of a wisecracking and charismatic Sonic brought a more enjoyable and relatable dimension to the character, resonating positively with both longtime fans and newcomers alike. And I could be mistaken, but I think this was the first 3D Sonic game in a while that completely did away with the darker undertones, and focused more on the fact that it was a cheerful children's game, something that Generations and Lost World would follow suit. Many look back at it now as a bad thing, but trust me, if you were there in the late 2000s, it was a much needed breath of fresh air. Aside from that, I think the only real criticism the game got at the time of release was the longevity. It's extremely short, which again, Generations and Lost World would have the same problems because there was no longer a separate control style implemented in addition to the main speed portions of the game. Regardless, the game was praised. I remember it being praised. I remember dying to play the game even though I didn't until many years later. But that's besides the point. I remember everyone loved it, until one day they didn't. The Sonic cycle spares no one. The story of Sonic Colors unfolds as Sonic the Hedgehog receives an invitation to visit Dr. Eggman's Interstellar Amusement Park, a seemingly spectacular and extravagant theme park located in space. Always up for an adventure, Sonic, accompanied by his trusty sidekick Tails, embarks on what appears to be a fun-filled trip to the amusement park. However, Sonic soon discovers that Dr. Eggman's true intentions are far from innocent. The nefarious Doctor has enslaved a race of small, colorful aliens called Wisps, using their unique powers to harness the energy of his latest diabolical creation, a mind-controlling energy generator known as the Nega Wisp Armor. The Wisps, representing different colors and abilities, are held captive, and their home planet, known as the Wisps' homeworld, or Planet Wisp, is under threat. Sonic, ever the hero, takes it upon himself to thwart Dr. Eggman's evil plans. As he explores the various theme park attractions, he encounters the Wisps and, with the help, gains new abilities. The Wisps, each possessing a specific color and power, aid Sonic in navigating the challenging levels and overcoming obstacles. Throughout the adventure, Sonic confronts Dr. Eggman's robotic minions, including the powerful and menacing Nega Wisp Armor, which serves as the primary antagonist. Along the way, Sonic uncovers Eggman's plot to build a massive mind control cannon using the amassed energy from the Wisps. As Sonic progresses through the different worlds within the amusement park, he liberates the Wisps, defeating Eggman's robotic forces, and ultimately confronts the villainous Doctor in a series of epic battles. With determination and the support of the Wisps, Sonic strives to save the enslaved aliens, prevent Dr. Eggman from executing his sinister plan, and restore peace to the Wisps' homeworld. The story of Sonic Colors is characterized by its lighthearted and humorous tone, showcasing Sonic's wit and determination to thwart evil. The collaboration with the Wisps introduces a colorful and dynamic element to the narrative, highlighting the importance of teamwork and unity in the face of adversity. The game's storyline, combined with its engaging gameplay, contributes to the overall appeal of Sonic's interstellar adventure. Yeah, so look, I know there's like all these eras that are defined in the fandom. They change so often, and it seems like every other YouTuber has a claim to fame by naming a new era. I'm not about that. But what I do know is that there's a clear trilogy of games that seem to follow many of the same patterns when it comes to the story and the theme of the game. And Colors was very much the start of that trilogy. Generations is an amazing game, and far be it from me to speak highly of Lost World yet again, but if you were to simply pull out the cutscenes of all three of these games, you could probably fool a casual into mistaking which game is which based off of the dialogue and overall tone of the game. Something I respected Forces for was that it at least attempted to steer the tone in a different direction. And one of my favorite things about Frontiers was its tone. I won't really talk about Boom because that game is its own animal, but anyway, that's basically the story of Sonic Colors. I don't love it, I don't hate it, it's just kinda there. You'll likely be familiar with all of this by now, but continuing the trend introduced in Sonic Unleashed, Colors refined and expanded the boost formula. The boost mechanic, triggered by collecting rings, allowed Sonic to achieve incredible speeds, tearing through levels and enemies alike. This added a thrilling sense of momentum, emphasizing the high-speed gameplay that Sonic is known for. The Wisps each gave Sonic a unique ability. For instance, the Cyan Wisp transformed Sonic into a laser, enabling him to zip through the obstacles and enemies, while the Yellow Wisp turned Sonic into a drill for burrowing under the ground. This introduced a puzzle-solving aspect, encouraging players to experiment with different Wisps to overcome the challenges. I always felt like Wisps caused an abrupt stop in gameplay. It feels like they're momentum killers in a lot of ways, but I do genuinely think their best implementation was in this game because their application is a bit more seamless and requires less pausing and thinking. Colors was one of the first implementations of 2D Sonic sections in 3D games. Actually, let's scratch that. Colors was one of the first implementation of 3D Sonic section in 2D games. I had a whole spiel about the different ways Sonic controls in Generations video, but to reiterate, we have 2D Sonic and his moveset in 2D, we have 3D Sonic and his moveset in 3D, and we also have 3D Sonic and his moveset in 2D. Well, seeing as how Colors predates the return to classic Sonic, there is no 2D Sonic with a 2D moveset. So this game just basically lets you play as 3D Sonic with his moveset, both in 2D and in 3D, and it sucks. Yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. These were by far the least enjoyable 2D sections out of any of the games I've played so far in this retrospective. I'd take the 2D sections in Lost World over this game any day. The 2D sections here felt lazy and took over so much of the game that it felt a bit insulting. Like, how are you going to sell me on this big 3D adventure, and then when I delved deep into it, it was a faker all along? And I know this was done again in future titles. Frontiers completely rug pulled the 3D out of there in the later half, but for some reason in Colors, it just hit way worse. Probably because it feels like the game is more 2D than 3D if anything else, and because the control is just not as good in 2D. Like, at all. But I digress. The game featured gravity-defying sections including loops and corkscrews and segments where Sonic could run on the walls. These elements enhanced the sense of speed and excitement, pushing the boundaries of what players could expect from a Sonic game. The inclusion of these dynamic environments added a layer of spectacle to the gameplay, contributing to the overall immersion, which I can always appreciate. And finally, Colors introduced various collectibles and challenges that extended the gameplay experience. Red rings, hidden pathways, and time-based challenges encouraged exploration and rewarded players for mastering the levels. This added depth and replayability, catering to the completionists and those seeking an extra layer of challenge, which I think was grossly needed because of how short and easy this game is. Alright, here goes. I don't personally like the level design in this game. Sonic Colors promised a vibrant and thrilling experience with its interstellar amusement park setting and the introduction of wisps. But with closer inspection, the stage design falls short of delivering a consistently enjoyable experience. One notable drawback is the lack of cohesion in the themes of the levels. While diversity is generally a positive aspect, the stark contrast between environments within the same world can be jarring. The transition from a tropical paradise to a futuristic space station, while visually striking, feels disjointed and lacks a cohesive narrative flow. The high-speed sections, synonymous with Sonic games, sometimes feels forced to the detriment of the overall experience. The relentless emphasis on speed can lead to a lack of player control, resulting in missed opportunities for exploration and engagement with the intricacies of levels. The difficulty curve across the stage is uneven, creating a somewhat frustrating experience for players. Some stages feel overly simplistic, while others introduce challenging obstacles without adequate build-up. This inconsistency can lead to moments of frustration, disrupting the otherwise fast-paced, enjoyable flow of the game. Certain set pieces and obstacles are repeated across different stages, contributing to a sense of redundancy. This repetition not only lessens the impact of these elements, but also diminishes the feeling of exploration and discovery within each level. Despite the integration of 2D and 3D sections, the platforming elements lack the depth and variety seen in other Sonic titles. The reliance on boost pads and automated sequences diminishes the need for precision platforming skills, resulting in a somewhat one-dimensional gameplay experience. While the wisps do introduce innovative gameplay mechanics, their potential feels underutilized in certain stages. Some wisps seem shoehorned into the level design rather than being seamlessly integrated, leading to moments where the inclusion feels forced rather than enhancing the overall experience. Exploration, usually a staple of Sonic games, often feels less impactful in Sonic Colors. The linear nature of certain stages restricts the sense of freedom and discovery that players may expect from a Sonic title. The missed opportunities for hidden paths and alternate routes contribute to a sense of linearity. So while Colors is praised for its visuals and certain gameplay innovations, the stage design leaves room for improvement. The lack of cohesion, uneven difficulty, redundant set pieces, limited platforming variety, missed opportunities with the wisps, and the restriction of exploration contribute to a somewhat underwhelming experience in certain aspects of the game. On a positive note, I like the presentation of this game. Despite a lot of things being too repetitive, the character design in Sonic Colors maintains the iconic look of Sonic and his friends while introducing new elements to suit their interstellar theme. The animation is smooth and fluid, capturing the sense of speed and agility that defines Sonic's character. The wisps, with their varied designs representing different colors and abilities, add a charming and whimsical element to the overall aesthetic. The game's cutscenes contribute to the overall presentation by combining humor, storytelling, and character interactions. The direction of the cutscenes showcases Sonic's personality, wit, and determination. The use of expressive facial animations and dynamic camera angles enhances the cinematic quality of the storytelling, providing a more engaging narrative experience. And call me a sucker, but some of the cutscenes and dumb jokes most people criticize in this game are a highlight for me. As usual, the music complements the fast-paced gameplay and diverse environments, enhancing the overall atmosphere of each level. The catchy tunes not only add to the enjoyment of the game, but also contribute to the sense of speed and excitement, making each stage feel like a unique Sonic adventure. And the voice acting in Sonic Colors brings the characters to life, with Roger Craig Smith delivering a charismatic performance as Sonic. The banter between Sonic and Tails adds a lighthearted and humorous dimension to the game. The voice work contributes to the overall characterization, making the interactions between the characters feel natural and enjoyable. Alright, so I think this is the first and potentially only game in the series which suffers because I decided to play everything in reverse. There's a lot to love about Sonic Colors, but pretty much all of it is done better in the sequels. While playing this game, it felt empty. Like it was missing so much and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I guarantee if I was to play it before playing Sonic Generations, I wouldn't have that feeling. It's funny because I think people that grew up playing this game went through their nostalgic cycle over a span of 10 years and looked back at it now as a shell of what they thought it was when they were kids. But for me, it happened over the span of a week, where I finished Generations, booted up Colors, and got bored way too quickly. So quickly that I had to take quite a lengthy break from returning to finish the game, and ultimately wrapping up this video. It's been about a decade since I returned from my hiatus from gaming, and wrote down a list of games I wanted to eventually get to. And in the Sonic category, I had the trio of Colors, Generations, and Lost World. Maybe if I didn't take so long to get back to those games and I played them in release order, I'd be singing a different tune about Colors. But that is unfortunately not the case. Colors is easily my least favorite boost formula game I've played in this 3D retrospective in reverse. In fact, the only game I disliked more than it in this reverse series was Sonic Boom. And trust me, it wasn't actually by much. I thought I was going to come out of here and tell people they were wrong for turning their backs on Colors, and that it was indeed as good of a game as they all remembered. But it seems like this is one of those situations where a highlight from days past should remain in your memory. As always, thanks for watching. Dean, out.